This tutorial will help identify where TransactVDR fits within the process of a capital project. When looking at vendors and end users, this will be our vendor, and we'll have another end user. There are two components to the supply. One is the equipment, and the second is the documentation. The equipment supply is easy, very straightforward, and something that everyone does very well. The documentation supply following the project is often a source of pain. We have holdbacks, delays. The project team doesn't enjoy the approval process where we end up submitting and heading back and forth between end users and vendors, and this is where TransactVDR fits. Looking at the document exchange between vendors and end users, we get a feel for why this is a pain point for our project folks. Take a single document prepared in the vendor standard format. In order to submit this for the first time to the end user, we must manipulate the document and add cover pages. On that cover page, it must list out every single tag that to which this document is connected. It must identify the document code. It must include the customer document number, which at some point was supplied by the end user. It must identify the PO and the project. The file, then, we must have a properly named file, xxx.pdf, based on the format required by the customer. There are things like page numbers and headers and footers, which all must be created and appended, printed, and merged on top of the original document. This can take a lot of time. In fact, our estimates put this somewhere around the range of 7 to 10 minutes. Once that's been completed, submit the document, and the end user will upload it to their system, and they'll move through an engineering review. In this case, we'll assume that that review was unsuccessful and the document was rejected. At that point, the customer will create a transmittal and send that back to us. Once it gets returned, again, we've got another step to take. We do a review of the document, and we return it back to our engineering team, who does another review. That process is fairly straightforward until we realize that in order to resubmit this document, we must create another cover page, which is another 7 to 10 minutes. We submit the information, the customer uploads it to his system or her system. We do a review and end up with the decision here that it is finally approved. The customer will transmit that item back to us. We'll go through another review process and finally ending up with a document that is approved. So there's a lot of manipulation and formatting required in order to be able to move this document back and forth. In addition, every time the document gets submitted, we must record the time, date, the status, and the number, the transmittal number, which we have to assign every time we send documents back and forth. And that's going to happen each time this document goes back and forth, and all within the document register, which we'll address. TransactVDR solves this process. all of the manipulation, management, creation of transmittals and cover pages is managed by the TransactVDR system. The only part remaining for your project team is to make the review of the document once it's returned and re-upload it to our system. And for the end users that are willing to or available to take advantage of the XML and CSV documentation we provide, we have the option to allow them to skip their upload process, and they are obviously left with the review of the project documents. The next component of TransactVDR that helps in this project scenario is the management of the document register. Every project has a list of documents which must be managed in a very detailed fashion, and prior to TransactVDR, these were all done on a spreadsheet. Inside this document register, you record all of the detail about when the item is sent and when it is returned, and we had gone through that process with our initial upload and then our return review, and again with another upload and return review. This includes things such as the date and the status and the transmittal numbers. This must be done for every document. And TransactVDR will replace all of this work and manage it all automatically for you. The last piece of the puzzle, the record book. At the end of the document process, after all of your documents have been approved, you must now compile them into record books. And TransactVDR will take all of the records, all of the documents that you've created, compile them into a record book. Will include, of course, the cover pages with the approval mark from the customer, as well as the documents that were submitted. We create the table of contents for you with page numbers and hyperlinks to the documents, which is often part of the specification of the record books. If you talk to your project team, you'll know that in the best case, this project takes hours, and often it can stretch into days or weeks depending on the size of the project. When we look at the original review of all of the time that TransactVDR can save you, if we look at about a 15-minute per document time times 100 documents, we look at about 1,500 minutes or 25 hours. 100 documents is a very small number of documents to have to manage. Maybe it's 20 items at 5 documents apiece. We look at the VDR, we look at the record books, and we hit a lot of money in both time and in delays and lost opportunity for you, the rest of your project team.